When you consider that about 1/3 of adults with partners report that money is a big source of conflict in the relationship, it is no wonder that financial problems are a leading cause of divorce. What you may not know is that the challenges can actually start even before you said, "I do." Arguments about money hamper many marriages. To help pave the road to better marital finances and relationships, Leadership Excellence for Women by Women is pleased today to host a special Father Days talk show. Today we will be talking on a very sensitive subject called Top Marriage Killing Money Issues.
Precious women of valor, precious men of valor, welcome to Leadership Excellence for Women by Women talk show.
Connect, explore, transform, and uplift each others to reach their limitless possibilities.
When did the domestic violence start in your marriage?
Immediately.
93% of juvenile victims of sexual abuse is by people they know.
Yes.
Before, I used to edit on a free software and people paid for that. Then I got better on my paid software, so I got more clients and they offered to pay more.
You don't need to go as far as fighting a woman, beating a woman, diminishing her, insulting her, humiliating her.
Non, on pensait que c'était une Américaine qui allait venir. Donc,
les gens, dès qu'ils commencent un boulot, c'est fini, hein. C'est jusqu'à la retraite. Tu vois, ils ne cherchent pas à changer de boulot, ils ont peur.
The testimonies, the stories are just amazing.
Comment démystifier certains mythes sur l'augmentation de salaire et la promotion?
Leadership Excellence for Women by Women.
Welcome again, precious men of valor, precious women of valor, and happy Father's Day, by the way, to all the wonderful fathers that are stepping every day of the year, that are there for their children. And also, we don't want to forget all the wonderful, precious women of valor that are also stepping up as father in the life of their children or other children in this world. As I said in opening, today we are talking about a very sensitive subject called Top Marriage Killing Money Issues. And to discuss this, we have two special guests. We will start first with Miss Claudia YANOGO BONKOUNGOU. She's from Woodbridge, Virginia. She's the program manager assistant for a nonprofit organization in Washington, D.C. that is called Housing Up. She has been married for 6 years now with a daughter and another on the way. Congratulations, Miss NOURIA.
Thank you.
Our second guest, and not the least, I really want to pause here to say that. Not the least because, to be honest with you, this talk show, I had a lot of difficulty finding brave, precious men of valor to come on this platform. Some told me in secret that, listen, Miss Mercy, some of your subjects is kind of like really making us to reassess ourselves, so we don't feel confident to come on the talk show right now. But not the least, I really want to thank Mr. Francois. Thank you so much on behalf of all the other men of valor, all the women of valor, for making time to be with us today. And like I said, Mr. Francois joined us from New York City. He's founder and executive director at NYMACS. Good morning, Miss Claudia and Mr. Nizzi, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you again for having us.
Thank you for making time. Sometimes when each spouse works and they can't agree on financial issues or find the time to talk about it, they decide to split the bills down the middle or allocate them in some other fair and equitable manner. That way, when the bills have been covered, each spouse can spend what they have left as they see fit. Sounds great, right? Sounds like a reasonable plan. However, bill splitting have many challenges. Mr. Nizi, how could bill splitting challenge the couple's ability to plan for long-term goals such as buying a home or securing retirement?
Here again, Mrs. for having us here today, and I believe that, yeah, as you said in your introduction, it might be a very good plan to do that. However, splitting the money for the bills, both spouses or partners need to know that what is the bill? You have to define the bills first. Is the bills only the rent and your other utility bills, or the bill extend beyond that? I think parents, or partners need to assess what is the bill. So you have to come up with a good plan to define the bills first. And then after you come with a big plan, if both partners work, it's a good way that each one of you participate at a certain level. It depends also who earns the most money, how you're going to split it. If you want to split it 50-50, I don't believe in that personally. I believe that as you're splitting the money, you need to define, to develop a budget. Develop a budget in your home, know how much you spend each month, try to see how much each person could contribute. And then try to also see what's your long plan goal. If you are as spouses or partners, are you in for the long term? If you're in for the long term, that means you need to have a plan. Do we need to buy a house, or do we need to rent for our whole life? Once you decide that, then you could also have a second plan. Are you also planning to have kids? If you're planning to have kids, then you also have to put that into your budget. So after the budget, if you split the money and each one want to spend theirs, I think you split the money for rent or for your immediate expenses, and then you also put some money aside for your long-term goal. I believe that that's what should be the plan going forward, not just thinking about the immediate rent or the immediate expenses. That's if you think on the short term, that's where the problem comes. I think you need to plan in the long run, and if you do that, things will be okay. Yeah, I think I'll give the time for somebody else to also intervene on this subject, but that's my take on this.
Wow, Msonzi, I love what you just said. And it's amazing how sometimes I wonder when I'm doing my talk show to see that the guests that I choose are the perfect guests matching the subject matter that I bring on the talk show. Some of the things that you said is actually about budgeting. And many people are not aware of that they need a budget. Whether you are single or married or retired, you need a budget to manage your money. And I'm glad that Mr. Ndi said this because it's kind of like an introduction to another talk show that I'm preparing in upcoming months to talk about budgeting, how to budget, and what do you need to put on each subsection of the budget. Because like Mr. Nzi said, you have a big item, you have the item that are necessary in your day-to-day life, and you have what I call I want item that also need to be part of the budget. So thank you so much, Mr. Nzi, for just kind of like introducing our next talk show. Miss Claudia, how do you think that bill splitting could lead to relationship ruining behavior like financial infidelity? That's where actually one spouse hides money from the other.
Yes. Good afternoon again, Miss Poirier, and thank you for having us today in today's talk show. Really a pleasure to be here. So I really agree. I agree with what Mr. Nzi just said. Budgeting is a big part of finance, especially in a couple and also in singles. And in my work line, we work a lot with people, and we try to tell them about budgeting, how to better manage your money, so you can attain or go a long way with your money and get to the place you want to be financially. So coming from, let's say, an African background or an African household, we kind of immediately think, or that's the mentality that um, the husband or the father is the one, the number one provider. He's the one that's going to go out there and make the money and bring it in. The mom typically is going to want to be the one that stays at home and takes care of the house, the kids. Therefore, kind of being the low income earner or no income at all. So that alone can just bring about a lot of differences and a lot of issues in certain marriages. Let's say, for example, I'm not earning anything, and my husband is like the primary earner. Um, I have different ways to contribute to the bringing of the house or the bill payments and things like that. So it's not going to be the same. So that mentality is what we get from being back home or coming from back home. But we're here in the United States in a different total reality. So now we have to contribute and go out there, make something, and we have a lot of assertive women. We have a lot of women that just decide, you know with the what's best for their family to just stay back and take care of the house. So splitting the bill down to the middle will definitely depend on everybody's income and the way, communicating with your husband, communicating with your partner to see what's best for your family, what's best for your particular situation. It's not a one size fit all.
Yeah.
One person can participate 60%, the other one can participate 40%. And that will take care of the bills. And like he said, we need to define what bills and what are our long-term goals, what are financial goals, especially financial goals, because that's something we don't really think about. A lot of couples just go on a day-to-day, just, paying bills, rent, electricity, utilities, and food. And that's it. There's no planning, there's no long-term financial responsibility or goal that is set aside to be like, okay, this is what we're doing with our money. $5 goes here, $1 goes here. We don't really have that set up in most of our African families. And that's really something that we need to work on, something that we need to kind of change a little bit. Now, the financial infidelity will come, let's say, if, for example, the lower earner spouse feels like they're contributing unequally, because we have to make sure that we're all happy in this relationship, right? And money is a big issue bringer. It's going to bring a lot of issues. So if I feel like I'm working a lot and I'm doing a lot outside and inside the house and not appreciated, or I'm contributing equally with you that's earning more than me, it's definitely going to bring conflicts. Let's say I think you have one of that coming down, or we're probably going to talk about that later on. If I'm the one that's taking care of the finances, I'm definitely going to hype up some kind of price so I can, be like, okay, you want to do this? let's do this. I'll just try to. And right now, prices are going all over the place with inflation and all that. So that alone can bring raise an eyebrow, be like, okay, this is not fair, because we're always thinking about fairness and things. This is not fair that you do this and I have to do extra work in the house or things like that, so that we can make ends meet. But communication, I would say, is the number one thing. If you guys are on the same page, on the same level when it comes to your goals, especially, and where you want to be long term, you guys should be fine.
Wow, this is amazing what you just said, Miss Nuria. And that is so true. One thing that I always emphasize during my talk show, yes, many of us, we are from different background. And the main focus where most of my talk show are going toward to is really the diaspora, because I always say it, we are a bridge between our native country and our host country. And to me, we are kind of like ambassador for both countries, and we should be able to take the best in each of those countries and become a blended, I would say, specimen that can educate, inform, and challenge others to do better. You just said something, Miss Nuria, that coming from African background, yes, today's talk show, it was intentional for me to bring people from the guests from the diaspora, because our reality with the reality in the United States, where the three of us live currently, are different than the reality in our different countries. I haven't mentioned it earlier on, but Miss Nuria is from Burkina Faso, West Africa. Mr. Nizi from Ivory Coast, West Africa. I was born in Mali, West Africa, but I was blessed to live in different countries. So I believe the two of us coming together is really a way to show that it is possible. Though we are coming from a different background, we can be the best in this country, both for our native country and the country where we are living. So thank you so much again, Victor, for your great contribution so far. Let's talk about debt. We know that overseas many live with debt, whether you like it or not. So, from school loans to car loans to credit cards to gambling habits, most people come to the altar with financial baggages. If one partner has more debt than the other, or if one partner is debt free, the sparks can start to fly when discussion about income, spending, and debt servicing come up. Mr. Nzi, what are your thoughts on couple in such situation?
Um, Thank you again for these great questions. And some of the issues have been raised by my counterpart there is the problem that we have here and living in America or coming from back home is the financial infidelity. It's that when you're coming, and there's something that I'm very clear about. We are grown, or if you're getting married younger, there are some issues that you need to discuss before you go to the altar, as you mentioned earlier. When you go into the altar, I think everybody had to come clean. If you have debt, your spouse or your uh, partner need to know, what type of debt you're carrying with you. Are you carrying like school loan? School loan are good debt to have. But if you carry other debt, credit card debt, car loan, any other debt that you're carrying, you need to come clean and tell your partner that, okay, yes, we agree to be together. This is what I'm coming with. I have my outstanding car loan. I have some outstanding school debt. I have some other outstanding debt. And this is what it is. And that's where I mentioned that budgeting is very important. As you budget, or even if you want to contribute equally or whatever type of way you want to contribute, once you come clean and you set aside your outstanding debt and you could pay that on your own, then it's not going to create a friction. The friction comes when your partner believes that you're hiding some debt. Now you're being called left and right by the debt collector. You can't contribute to the home. You can't meet some of your need because of all these baggages that you carry. That's where the spark starts and the fires blow out. So I think you come clean, try to develop a budget. Each part need to understand what I'm coming from, and then it's understandable. communication is the key. Don't hide anything if you are planning for the long run. But sometime maybe you met and you have a crush on each other and you didn't make the decision come out of the blue, and you say, okay, let's tie a knot. But then after you tie the knot, you learn about all these other problems that your other partner is coming with, and now it's kind of a surprise. So I think we need to get, as you're getting close to developing a strong relationship, you need to be honest about yourself, honest about your future wife or husband, your partner, and then come out, clean with what you have, what you don't have, what you need to do, what's your future plan, and this will maybe lower all the other issues that you could develop during the marriage. I'm not saying that you're going to have a marriage with problem free. No perfect marriage is going to always have a problem, but then the problem could be less if you are communicating each time and you coming clean and you're trying to develop a plan to solve those problems. But most of the time people get mad, they don't want to talk about it. There are some taboo subjects that they don't want to talk about it. Whenever one raises the problem, then the other one get mad and they leave the table. That's where the problem starts. You need to come to the table, discuss the issue, try to find solution together if you are planning to stay together for the long run. So those are my advice and those are my take on those, because I don't think that issues that we mostly couple faces don't come overnight. You can see the sign. And once you see the signs, you need to know that, okay, this is that we need to sit down and try to talk about it. But if you refuse to talk about it, that's where you're going to have a problem coming. So hope that, those take on this topic will educate some of the your audiences that will be listening to or watching to this talk show.
Yeah, great contribution, Mr. Nzi. And again, what I'm taking away from what you said is also one major problem in the diaspora is the use of credit card. That can lead so many newcomers in Europe or America. I would say just from the diaspora, many get into this pitfall and they don't know how to manage the credit card deal. So that will be another subject that definitely we will come back to discuss about, because again, when we talk about money, we've said earlier on, we will be talking about budgeting, we will be talking about credit card, because the fact that we live in this country, whether in US, in North or America or in Europe, you need those credits. You need a credit card, but there is a strategy that goes beyond how to use it properly so that you can build a better credit. So thank you again, Mr. Nzi, for your contribution on this. Let's talk about money personality. Some people are natural savers who may be viewed as cheapskate and risk averse. Some are big spender and like to make a statement. And others take pleasure in shopping and buying. Others, however, rack up debt, often mindlessly, while some are natural investors who delay satisfaction for future self-sufficiency. While I'm talking, I'm sure that many of us may display more than one of these personalities. Miss Claudia, what do you think could be bad habits about money when it comes to money personality?
Right. Thank you, Ms. Barrow, for this great question. So, money personalities is something that we don't really hear about. A lot of people don't know what a money personality is, and honestly, unless you have maybe taken some extra finances class or things like that, you won't really know. You probably will fit in one or two or three of those categories, but you don't really know, what it is, what's the strength of that, money personality, or what's the weakness of that. So knowledge is power. The more you know about your own, money spending habits or your personality, the better you can prepare or, avoid certain traps that we fall into in this country. Just like you said, having a credit card is great. You spend it how you want. You don't have to pay it right away until the bill comes due. So the different personalities that we are mostly faced on with that you mentioned above were the compulsive savers. A lot of people like to just save, save money, save money, save money. That is great. That's usually like the responsible type of money personality. They are rational. They they spend just for a purpose. If they don't have to, they won't spend the money. What maybe a partner can see in that as an issue would be like, okay, you always want to save money, you never want to go out, you don't want to have fun, you don't want to spend time and just be spontaneous. So that's one of the bad habits that I see. It's everything in excess can be kind of a bad thing. So also the opposite of the compulsive saver will be the one that spends all the time. That would be on unnecessary things. Mostly that would be my wants versus my needs. So those people are emotional spenders. They seek immediate gratification instead of delaying it, like you mentioned. So that in a relationship, if you're paired with a compulsive saver, that right there is a recipe for disaster if both of you guys are not on the same page, because one person is trying to save whereas the other one sees it as you're just wasting time. We don't know what tomorrow is made of. Let's have fun right now with the money that we have. And that will bring you in a lot of bad situations, especially you're spending and you don't know where you're going to get the extra money after you responsibly take care of what you need to take care of that part of your bad habit. And we have the money maker. So this person is focused on making money all the time, doesn't have time for no fun, doesn't have time for no family, doesn't have time for anything. Their main goal is to make more money, always and always. They'll do the extra work here, extra work there. They're trying to grow their wealth. And, I guess they kind of like being financially successful and kind of like people knowing that they're financially successful. That's great. There's nothing bad with that, because you have to assure the future of your kids. If you have someone, if you're planning on those, you have to make sure you're financially stable and you don't have to worry too much about money. The issue with that too would be that you never have time. You're always working for the family that you're claiming to have and not spending time with your wife or spouse or with your kids, and that can bring little issues, the little talks about you're never there for the family and things like that, because you're always at work. You're always working. And there is people that are kind of indifferent and not really worried about money. Those people usually they don't really think about money like that. They would say like, money is not important. Money is not it's not my number one goal. It's not a big issue. We all know that you need money to kind of go certain miles. So those people will be like, well, we can take this decision, yeah, but I don't know why you're bringing money into the matter. It shouldn't matter. Just let's take the time right now and live the moment or whatever it is. So having that, it just depends on the person that you're faced with and their intention, I guess. When it comes to being indifferent about money, I don't think you should be indifferent about money. It's a tool to get you to great places. It's a tool that you could use to make a difference, make some changes. We have people that like to save what you call it, like a combination of savers and spenders. They're always looking for a good deal over here. They hear there's a sale there, like a gimmick. It's just always catches those kinds of people. There's a sale. Okay, let's go. There's a sale there. You want to save the money, but then you want to spend it, so you're not really sure. So a lot of people fall into different categories. So not a one size fit all again, like I said. I can be, for example, a saver and a spender at the same time. It just, you need to balance. You need to be able to balance so you can kind of enjoy making your money and, spending time with your family and all that. One thing I want to add to, it's good for spouses to know their financial personalities. It's always good to know what you're dealing with, if you're coming into a relationship. I would like to know, I would probably tell you, let's say, for example, a saver. I would like to know what kind of a person with money you are. Are you a saver like me, so we can kind of hold each other accountable for certain situations? If I'm saving too much or if I'm spending too much, I would like you to tap me on the back, be like, okay, hi, honey, this is what's going on. Can we talk about it? What can we do better for our particular family? Like I said, every couple is different. Every situation is different. And knowing your strength or knowing your partner's strength would definitely help you guys blend together and make this marriage, a better situation. And, kind of try to make your life easier and ease up on, having money issues among all of the issues that you will have coming up in a marriage.
Wow. Definitely, from the two guests that we had today, you could see a precious man of valor, precious women of valor, that we are really taking the level high. Here we are really talking about being careful, being watchful about the extreme personality. As you could see when Miss NOURIA was talking, she touched on every type of spender, the extreme, the frugal, the one that doesn't care. It's really about finding balance. Second, it's also about transparency. Transparency, communication, being willing to be vulnerable, being willing to say the truth. Let's not talk about the power plays, which often occur when the money earner or the one who makes or has the most money often want to dictate the couple spending priority. Although there may be some rationale behind this idea, it is still important that both partners cooperate as a team. Mr. Ninzi, while a joint account offers greater transparency and access, do you think it's a solution to an unbalanced power money dynamic in a marriage?
Not necessarily. Not necessarily having a joint account. I even go further to that, say that joint account might even create the greater problem. I'm not saying that say that you shouldn't have a joint account, but joint account should be planned carefully. Let's say you have your wife or husband and you and a partner want to have a joint account. I would suggest that since I'm talking in the area of us immigrant coming here, we left family back home that we also had to support. That's a reality in our life. So having a joint account, maybe my family is bigger, maybe I had to contribute more to my family back home, and my wife may not have to contribute that much, or my wife have more responsibilities back home, and then I do not have to contribute that much. So that will also create a friction. So what I would suggest is what? You could have a joint account as a husband and wife. That joint account is for both of you, your plan, your long-term plan, your long-term goal. and for each one of you also will have a separate account that they use to support their family back home. So if you come in and your parents need some other support, you don't come to your husband and every time ask them for more money to support, your relative back home. So you could do that on your own. Your partner, even or might be your top earner or even the lower earner, could even come to your support time to time. Okay, you're doing this, or your mom needs this, or your dad needs it, or your parents back home need this. Maybe I could help you a little bit with this. That is welcoming for your partner to have that. A joint account, like a plain joint account where nobody have a side account where they could rely on, is very dangerous, and it could create a lot of problems. So I would suggest, my suggestion is each person have their own account where they could rely on to do their side expenses, such as taking care of your sibling or parents that you left back home. And here you plan, as I mentioned earlier, we need to be stable here. If I'm not stable here, I cannot support anyone back home. So financial stability where you live is very crucial, because if you yourself are not stable, then you cannot support anybody else. Even your wife or your kids that you have here, you can't provide for them. And to avoid any type of friction, you need I call this type of the top money earner being dictating what we need to do with the money or doing this. If sometimes it could be very abusive. I'm not gonna say name, but I have seen some example where the top earner tried to dictate. I used to have, I have a friend who is a very top, earner. At one point decided that, okay, tell his wife, okay, you don't need to work. I could take care of all the bills, and don't just sit home, just watch the kids, take them to school, do this and do this, do this. At a certain point, it started to be very abusive, where when the wife goes to the supermarket and they come, okay, what are the change? If you buy even a gum, it will have to ask you, okay, why did you buy this? Why did you have to buy gums? And every single thing had to be accounted for. I think that becomes very abusive when you decide, okay, we have one joint account, and then the top money owners started now to be abusive and dictate every single thing, right? So my suggestion is avoid the plain joint account. You could have a joint account, but each one of you should have their own separate account on the side where they could rely on to do their other expenses that the other person doesn't even to know about. As women, you have stuff to take care of. You could buy, your makeups. You could buy, whatever you need to make yourself beautiful, right? You don't need to go every time you need to buy a makeup. You don't need to go to your husband to say, okay, I need to buy makeup. Can I take money from the account to do it? Those are problems. Yeah, you need to do those on your own. If there's the Mother Days, like, last week, and you want to give a gift to your wife, or you go out and you see stuff that my wife might like this one, I want to buy for her. You don't need to take money from your joint account. You could do it on your own. Your wife will be very happy to have that, right? Or your wife goes out and sees something that say, my husband may like this stuff. I buy for him. You don't need to take money from your joint account to go do that. So that was my suggestion that I would give. Have a joint account, but for your long-term goal, your long-term plan. If you're saving for a house, if you're planning kids, if you're planning for whatever you're planning here, you need to have that. Outside of that, you have your own account, you take care of your own business, and you will save your marriage that way.
Wow. Great input here. You talk about something that I really want to ask Miss NOURIA, children. That could also be another marriage killing money issue. $233,610. That is the cost of raising a child to age 18 in the United States, according to U.S. Department of Agriculture report released in 2017. We are talking about 2017. That's much more than that today. Miss Claudia, if one partner cuts their hours, works from home, or leaves a career to raise children, like Mr. Nzi said, would this change marriage dynamics, assumption about retirement, lifestyle, and more?
Mrs. Boadi, you're going to put me in some trouble here. uh, because, having kids, if this is the amount that, these are things that we don't really sit down and think about. Okay, I'm having 2-3 kids. How am I going to take care of you? If this is in 2017, we're talking now in 2022 where things have spiked up. So, but to come back to your question, this is very good. And I'm very glad this is coming up because it's something that touches a lot of families, especially living in America, is that not everybody, let's say for a period of time, is not going to be able to do all of that. A lot of things are expensive. You have to think about daycares. If, let's say, the lowest earner is not making as much money so that you guys could plan for 2 or 3 kids to go to the daycare so you can go to work, it just makes sense to stay home. But what I want to bring out is that it's very important that this is a decision coming from both spouses. You sit down and you make a plan for your family. This is on a case-by-case basis. If this is what's best for your family, I would encourage that. A lot of people are not happy staying at home to take care of the children, the husband, or the family, the spouse, or the kids. A lot of people are good going out there making money, making connections so that they can feel better by themselves too, not just being home. So it comes with a lot of ramifications. So speaking in general, being married for the long run, especially in a civil setting, is that having to make some sacrifices or staying at home to work or actually completely leaving your career to raise a kid is not a long-term sacrifice, I would say. Let's say you probably stay home for like 3-4 years to take care of this kid or the children. In the meantime, there's a lot of things that you can do. Now with COVID, we have learned so many things that, a lot of things can be done remotely. A lot of things can be done at home. A lot of businesses have sparked. And just recently, I was reading about Black women having businesses, how it spiked up with COVID. A lot of people now are learning to be entrepreneurs, learning that, okay, you can have more than one stream of income. The 9 to 5 now is probably not gonna cut it. I can do something on the side. I have this skill. I can work. I can sew clothes, for example. I can make something extra to make extra money. People are always demanding skills. So it's about knowing yourself and what you can do to be able to close that gap. So the marriage dynamic should be fine as long as communication is fluid, as long as both spouses are on the same space or page. When it comes to that, it should be fine. Just like he mentioned above, it's good to have a joint account, so that all the expenses can go up in one. But in this case, let's say if the lower earner has to resign or quit their job so they can just full-time stay home, it will bring about a lot of issues, so the family dynamic will change when it comes to that. Like I said earlier, money is a very thin subject when it comes to certain relationship and certain people. It can bring the worst out of you, can bring the best out of you. So it just depends on the situation that you're in. So when it comes now to assumption about retirement, lifestyle, and maybe other stuff, for the retirement part, I would say, let's say if living in the diaspora here, living in America, and if we're entering like a civil marriage, those are things that could be planned in a long run. This is if you guys are planning to stay with each other for the long run. It's a plan. Again, you sit down, you talk about it. I'm willing to stay home for 2 years, 3 years to take care of the kid until they're ready to go out to school, and then I resume work. In this meantime, this is like a planning situation. This is what's going to happen. That's how we're going to be planning our bills. This is what we're making. It's a we situation. Usually when we get married back home, they're telling us to drop the I. It's a we situation now. So this is we. True, you going out there, you're making the money, you're bringing it so we can pay the bills. I'm contributing another way. I'm staying home and I'm taking care of the kids. To no extent, that's an easy job for the stay-at-home moms out there. You guys are doing a great job. That's a great contribution because you're talking about a kid. A kid is an investment. You just set it up like above. It's a lot of money to raise you. It's kind of an investment. True that you might not expect something back from that investment, but you're putting your money and your heart into raising these kids to be people of the world tomorrow, people that are trustworthy and people that can make a change for others in the future. So about retirement, you guys are staying together for the long run. And there's a little in America, we know about the 401ks, the Roth IRAs, and all those money markets. Like, there are ways to grow your money. Be at home, work, do a business on the side, and keep the money growing. It doesn't have to be stopped completely. It doesn't have to be like a no flowing money situation. So in those cases, you guys will plan on the long run, on the future, to see what coming down the line in 20 years, in 30 years, where are we going to be financially? Then again, you have to have a vision, of what you want to be in the next 20, 30 years, 40 years, whatever that is. It will bring a lot of lifestyle changes because it's now going to be a one income family with maybe a family of 3 or 4, whatever it's going to be. So the lifestyle is definitely going to change. The money is not coming the way it's coming anymore. So that's when the budgeting that he was mentioning above will come into play. You definitely have money for paying the expensive. Other thing too that I like to say, a realistic budget has given or granted what you need to spend on, take care of the immediate stuff so you can have a roof over your head and be comfortable. But part of a budget is to have some kind of, a sense that you belong, a sense that be just realistic. True, I'm going to be working every day, but I can put some money aside, included in the budget. I'm going out to the restaurant with my family. I'm taking some time with my wife so we can go to dinner or we can go to the movies. All of that has to be included in the budget. And I think it's a good place to put this thing in the budget so that a lot of marital issues when it comes to money will not take over, the big picture. Having just some time alone, just the both of us or the both of you guys, sitting there talking, relating and connecting back to whatever brought you guys together in the first place is, a good thing. It's a calm place, a calm environment so you guys can just concern your thoughts again and,
Yeah.
hopefully
Wow.
raise a happy
Thank you so much, Miss Nouria. We really have a lot to cover. This is a deep subject. And I think we may need to come back with more in-depth conversation. I will look at this today as just like an opening and just to prompt the thinking, the discussion, but we will definitely come back in the future with more to discuss on this. Let's go now to the next portion of our discussion today. We are almost at the end of the first segment, so we will come back to you in a moment with the next part of our discussion of today, which will be some of the solution that you could have to help definitely your couple to manage that money issue in your marriage. We'll be back in a few seconds. Thank you so much for staying with us. Welcome back to our show, Leadership Excellence for Women by Women. As a reminder, today we are joined by Miss Claudia YANOGO BONKOUNGOU from Woodbridge, Virginia. She's a program manager assistant for a nonprofit organization in Washington, D.C. that is called Housing Up. She has been married for 6 years now with a daughter and another on the way. Our second guest, and not the least, is Mr. Francois, who joined us from New York City. He's founder and executive director at NYMACS. Mr. Nzi, knowing your financial personality, as noted above, I believe we talked about it earlier on, is another aspect of your relationship that will play a major role in your financial plan and also in your marital or lack thereof. How critical do you think it is for a couple to pay attention while dating and be honest about financial personality and how they were raised? I think you've touched a little bit about it earlier on, but I would like you to expand on it, please.
Thank you again for giving me a second chance to expand on this topic. Yes, usually when we dating, we talk about having fun. That's the fun part of dating. But once you start dating a couple, as you date or your future wife or husband, if you are dating for that purpose, because dating, sometimes we want to have fun, you date, and then, you're not planning for the long run. But let's say you're planning for the long run and you're dating. There are some signs that you need to look for. And those signs that you look for are, money, personality. What does my date do when we go on the date? What do they ask? Do they ask that we spend here, we go here? There are some places that they're gonna want you to go. As a man, if I'm dating, a lady for the first time, maybe I want to impress. So I will take her to some other places, but that's the beginning where things are not that serious. But we're trying to impress the other one and to make the good impression. So you take them to the nice places. But at some point, things start to be very serious if you're planning seriously. At that point, you need to address the real issues. Okay, seriously, we've been dating for some time. I think we could be a good couple. We could, have a family together. At that point, when you come to that point, you need to discuss serious issues when you go on a date, right? Yeah. It's not about having fun anymore. It's about having families. And once you decide that, the serious issues need to come up. First thing that we touched base on was about financial. What luggage I'm bringing in? What are the debt that I have? And so you talk about that a little bit. What the luggage that the other person bringing in? As African and as immigrant in general, we also coming from families that we left family back home. I touched base on that too. What are the other responsibilities that I have back home? Are you planning to retire here if you're planning on the run home? Or you planning to retire back home? Those are some issues that people also don't touch base on. And when they get together, one want to stay here, the other one is planning to go home, and the whole thing break loose because they're no longer on the same page. So all that go into money personality, not necessarily you're spending here, but also you're spending back home. Some other people are planning to build a house back home where they can't even afford to pay their rent here. All those plans had to come into place. Okay, are you planning to retire there or retire here? If the person are on the same page as you, I'm planning to retire there. Okay, now you need to make a long-term plan to try to build our retirement home. I'm not going back. I'm staying here. I have my kids here. So you need to plan to stay here. So you need to plan your retirement here. Yeah. All those issues, all those topics need to be discussed seriously. When you start to be serious, when you're not trying to impress anymore, when you now know your partner that you know is the right person for you to be with on the long run, when your partner also agree that you are the right person to be with on the long run, you need to discuss the serious issues. You need to come out with a plan. You need to come out with how you're gonna have families. If you have kids outside of a marriage, you need to tell your partner that, okay, I already have kids outside here. This is what the situation. If you do not have them, it's going to be your first family. The person also needs to know. And as in one word, what I want to say is about honesty, discussing the serious problem, be vulnerable about, don't have any taboo on the subject, the topic that you discuss. If you have taboo, you are not planting the seed for the long run. That seed is gonna die in a couple of months or year. When everybody is gonna learn about the problem that the other person has coming into the marriage. So money personality had to be discussed. But also you need to detect on your own the clues, the signal. You're gonna have signal to know the person, even if he's not telling you the truth. There are some things that you could detect to allow you to say that this person is the right person or is not the right person, or they're hiding something out from me. I need to dig in a little deeper to know, and then you make your final decision back then, and you have what I call a successful marriage. Not the perfect one, but the successful one. So yeah,
I like
perfect
that.
and successful is very, very, very thing to have to know.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, here you are talking about red flags. And while you are talking again, I had an inspiration for another talk show. So thank you so much, Mr. Nzi. That will definitely be managing expectation in blended family. Like you said, sometimes people just get all fly up. Oh, I've seen the love of my life, and we don't think through. Like, okay, children staying here or moving back home with the person. Those are things that need to be discussed on top of the finances. So we will come back to that in the future. Let's get now to checking your ego. We know that when we talk about marriage, it's two different personality. The power play issue can get ugly quickly here. Few things build resentment faster than being made to feel inferior. If you've got more cash, you need to be sensitive about how you present spending decision. And if you don't have the money, you need to be prepared for stress and tension that is almost inevitable even in good marriages. Miss Claudia, let's talk about here passing along good habits. If children are in the future of the couple, how could the couple start teaching them about money when they are young?
Yeah. Thank you for that. We need to build responsible financial beings for the future. So, financial literacy is very important. It is so important to teach your children a healthy, very healthy way to approach money and finances. Some things that I see parents doing is frustrating the kids. So we don't want to forget that children are they're somewhat listening and they can feel and they know what's going on in the house. So always arguing about money, always bringing money issues, being like, oh, I don't have money to buy this for you all the time. The kids are soaking that in. So you have to bring a healthy way that works for your family on how you want to bring money or you want to approach money issues when it comes to your children. Also, make them believe that just spending or just all the time saving money is kind of something that goes well is a bit unrealistic. So you want to set realistic goals to teaching them about financial health that would help them grow in the future to being responsible adults and making rational choices when it comes to money. You also want to make them understand that money is not an enemy. Money is not a bad thing. Money is a tool. a tool for you to get to where you are. With your money, you can invest. With your money, you can pay your bills. With your money, you can help others. So you just have to make sure that they're responsible. A few tricks that maybe parents can try is, playing, kids like to play and they learn a lot better with play. So, give them some hypothetical realities. They like to play mommy and baby sometimes with their siblings or sometimes with their friends. Give them some hypothetical money or some imaginary money. Monopoly, I believe, is a good game, for a family thing. Have them have a vision board. Have them think about the long run. What do you want to be when you want to, how do you want to manage your money in the future? How do you want to spend your money on this? And just look at their reasoning and see if there is things that you could correct along the way. You know, just those little things that kids will just pick up, not knowingly, but as they grow, that those are things that grow with them. So if they grow in an unhealthy way of spending money, best believe that that's what they're going to display when they're adults. But slowly at a young age, you teach them about money. You have $5. Okay, let's go to the store. What do you want? Also teach them their needs versus their wants, because those are two different things. Do you really think you need that piece of candy? Do you think you need that doll? You only have $5. It's this doll is costing you $6 or $5.50. You got to think about the taxes. You got to add all of that. So you have to teach them at a young age how to approach money in a healthy way again. So there's no size fit all. Things are different. Every kid is different. Every kid learns differently. Just have to be patient. Have to take that on yourself to actually add that into their education, so that in the future they will definitely know how to, be responsible in front of money or act when there is money. A lot of things that we see is that adults, you just get money out of nowhere. Okay, I have extra money. Instead of paying that credit card or paying down that debt, you want to just add some other expense. Or you got to raise at work. Instead of, planning more on taking this, maybe lower your debt, that's a goal that your family has. No, we're going to have more expenses. Let's go take an extra card that we don't really need. That's a want.
Yeah.
So the kid needs to know, I want this, I need this. It's different.
Yeah, budgeting again and again. It's like it just keep coming back. Thank you so much, Miss Nouria. We definitely have to bring you back for the subject on teaching financial literacy to your children. So be on the lookout for an invitation coming up in the next month. Some advice that having an annual financial plan and a regular check-in can diffuse the tension of talking about money and keep you on track. Mr. Nizi, this question will be for you. Do you think that it will be helpful for couple to schedule a time that could be once a month or once a quarter or once a year to check in on short and long-term goals?
I believe so. Again, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a social entrepreneur, and I believe in how you develop business. It's the same as your family is a business. You run your family as a business. You make as we mentioned earlier, you make your budget. You develop your budget, and you check if you are on if it matches. It's like balancing your check. Okay, you have to balance your checkbook, and time to time you come. Maybe on a monthly basis, you see, or if it's sometimes it might be too many time to do that. But quarterly would be a desirable way to do it. If you could do it monthly, every month try to balance your check and try to see what you have there. As we said earlier, you could have your joint account that you both use to pay your common bill or take care of the family as a whole. That account should be closely managed by both of you. Come every month, try to see when the bank statement come, try to see what you have there, how you balance it, balance your budget according, your checkbook according to your your budget, because you don't do anything out of the blue. Like you have a roadmap. As we said, your budget is your roadmap, yearly roadmap that you have to follow. Each month or each quarter, you check and see how low or high you are, how much money you have in there, what can we afford to do? Can we afford a vacation this year? Based on what your budget that you develop based on your expense, because you're gonna have some expenses that were not planned, that came like unplanned expenses could come in the way. So if you have an unplanned expensive that get into your budget, that means it's going to eat part of your budget because you didn't plan for that. You can't plan for every single thing, but let's say you plan and some stuff that you planned didn't happen. So I have a little more surplus, so I could spend a little, or I could, move it somewhere else.
Yep.
So all those planning are very critical. Checking into your planning if you're going as planned is very critical. You need to do it either monthly or quarterly, or but you need to don't do it every year, because at the end of the year it's gonna be too late. So monthly, if it's not too much, you do quarterly. So
Wow, thank you so much, Mr. Nzi. We are almost at the end of our talk show of today. During my research, I have to say that I was quite surprised to find out that 1 in 5 Americans said they have financial disagreements with their significant other at least monthly. That is according to a 2018 Northwestern Mutual study on personal money matter. Among those that were surveyed, 41% said the financial anxiety have an impact on relationship with spouse or partner at least some of the time. This is the highlight that I really want to leave you with. 5 key takeaway. Number 1, a committed relationship requires a calm, honest conversation about each other's finances, habits, goals, and anxieties. Number 2, money problems involve check discussion on ego, anxiety about control, and notions of marital roles. Takeaway number 3, for debt issue, couples should always use various tools and strategy to start paving off debt and get on better financial footing. Number 4, having kids change everything. Ideally, couples should communicate their expectation and ideas about how to raise and pay for kids well before they are born. Finally, takeaway number 5, couples who have trouble talking about money can and should seek out the help of a financial advisor or planner for unbiased advice if needed. Mrs. Claudia and Mr. Nzi, do you have any final word for our viewer?
Gloria, you want to go first?
Sure. Finally, I just want to tell everybody, take money as a tool. Money doesn't have to be an issue. Money doesn't have to be a burden. What you do with your money is, or what you want your money to do with you is going to take you a long way. If you want your money to work for you, put your money to work and it work for you. Have reasonable expectations about your partner, about their needs. Allow them to make mistakes. It's about the learning process. So, hold each other accountable. That keeps everybody in check and keeps, your marriage together. Also, do not belittle the tiny mistakes or the tiny things. The devil is in the detail. Just make sure that everybody is feeling comfortable in the relationship, feeling comfortable. Just create a comfortable way to talk about money, a comfortable environment to bring up your issues. That will definitely take you a long way. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Nouria. Mr. Nzi?
Yes, I think I will second what she said and add a little bit more. Again, kids first. When you want to get married, don't get married out of having a crush on somebody. Like you have a crush today and tomorrow you get married. I think I don't think it's a good decision. You had to learn to see who you are trying to get together with. Have a long plan. First, you need to have a budget. I will discuss throughout this talk show. Second, kids. You need to know when you have a child, both parents, because those also could, even though they come into the picture when it comes to money, because how much you spend on the kids, how much you spend on yourself also is a very big deal. Planning for the kid. I have a child. My son is 15 now. He's going to turn 16 in August. He has a kind of a credit, kind of a debit card that I give him because with me, he go to school outside of New York. He's in a boarding school. So I give him that card. He has a card that I monitor, but I have him. I also tell him to monitor his expenses. See, if you want to buy this, you want to go out with your friend, this is what you need to do. Each month, he has a certain money on his card. He knows how to spend that money. He just left. He was here with me because of the weekend, and he's going back to his school. So, he knows that I have this amount of money there. This is how I need to spend it. I'm teaching him the lesson. He knows how to manage his money. And all those we need to teach them. Some people come to me, Mr. Nzi, your child is so responsible. He's so grown up. He's so, they say, no, you had to teach him. It just doesn't come out of the blue. So those are lessons that parents need to be very careful, teaching your kid early how to spend money, how to use money. Money is a tool. It's always telling me, I want to be an entrepreneur. I want to do this. And I say, okay, sometimes, and you want to help. He like to help a lot. And I tell him, if you don't have the money, you cannot help. That's one of the tools. Make sure that you make it. But then if you want to help, then you have it. But you can't help if you don't have it. And that's one of the problems that we as immigrants, and I will insist on that, sometimes some of them make that mistake, trying to help everybody back home, right? But then you hear and you can't take care of yourself at all. So one of my take is that try to be at somewhat stable here. Then you could help. If you are not stable here and your marriage is crumbling and you can't do anything, then you can't help. So prioritize. That's one more thing that I want. Prioritize. When you know your priorities, and both of you, husband and wife, know your priorities, things will be very well. And I want to leave it there.
Wow, thank you so much.
Yeah.
It was really a pleasure to have the two of you. Mr. Nzi, may I ask, I know New York is very famous for having so many international restaurants. What is your favorite restaurant in New York?
Okay, my favorite restaurant, I have two. First one are my friends. My two friends have very good restaurant in Harlem. I live in Queens, but my business is based in Harlem, so I'm in Harlem all the time. Ponte Bistro, if you heard that name, and Harlem Renaissance, my favorite restaurant. I'm always there and having good food. My good friends, Chef Cisse and Chef Hali from Senegal, have this great, beautiful restaurant in Harlem. So.
Well, glad to hear that. Because of your bravery, like I said earlier on, the Leadership Excellence for Women by Women is pleased to give you, to issue you a gift card of $100 for you to take your significant other for Father's Day, today being Father's Day. Just enjoy yourself, and this is also a way to really encourage other men. Whenever we really reach out to you, it is not just for yourself, but also to really help to build up other men, other precious men, other precious women of valor that are not at the level that they would like to be. Bottom line, today, as a conclusion, I would just like to say one thing. Lack of communication is the source of many marital issues. This space is where the hard work of marriage often lives. Like common health problems, financial anxiety, believe me, if not addressed, can become far bigger problem with much more difficult solution. Studies have shown that people with more power are more likely to act selfishly, impulsively, and aggressively, and approach others with less empathy. Each partner in a marriage should ask themselves whether the behavior works toward the goal of a more kind, appreciative, and equitable relationship or not. When working together, that's really my last word, couple can achieve more than singles can. We really hope that you have learned a lot today with us. Thank you so much for staying with us. And again, happy Father's Day to all the great fathers out there. Happy Father's Day to all the mothers, the single mothers that are really making it happen every day of they're here for their children. We truly appreciate you and you are the very best. Thank you so much again, Mr. Nzi, Miss Claudia, and our viewers for staying with us. And we see you next time for another talk show.
Precious women of valor, precious men of valor, welcome to Leadership Excellence for Women by Women talk show.
Connect, explore, transform, and uplift each others to reach their limitless possibilities. When did the domestic violence start in your marriage?
Immediately. 93% of juvenile victims of sexual abuse is by people they know.
Yes.
Before, I used to edit on a free software and people paid for that. Then I got better on my paid software, so I got more clients and they offered to pay more.
You don't need to go as far as fighting a woman, beating a woman, diminishing her, insulting her, humiliating her.
Non, on pensait que c'était une Américaine qui allait venir. Donc...
Les gens, dès qu'ils commencent un boulot, c'est fini, hein. C'est jusqu'à la retraite. Tu vois, ils ne cherchent pas à changer de boulot, ils ont peur.
The testimonies, the stories are just amazing.
Comment démystifier certains mythes sur l'augmentation de salaire et la promotion?
Leadership Excellence for Women by Women.